and we can approve the agenda. We'll approve the agenda and we'll, or if we need to change the agenda, we'll have that vote, and then we could approve the minutes at that point. But Ricky, if it's okay, I'd like to just go ahead and turn it over to you at this time.
Yeah, that works fine. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's a pleasure to see you and be here with you. I'm going to go over a couple of things, and certainly let me know, one, if my connection is awful, and two, if you have any questions, and I'll stop and answer anything you may have. So first things first, just wanted to provide you all with an update on unemployment insurance claimants to give you a sense of what's been occurring over the last month, over the last couple of months, separately, and then of course letting you know where we expect to be.
Yeah, he's cutting
in
out.
about a month's time, and then certainly we'll. Okay, hold on one second.
You know what? I'm going to ask everyone if you could turn off your video too. That might help him as well. So let's just have Ricky on video. That might be good.
All right, is that better?
It is. So I think it's our video might too much of a video feed might also be messing it up. So we'll go on.
Cool.
No video so that we can get you on. There you go.
All right. On top of that, all the video makes me nervous, so it works out well. Okay, so unemployment insurance claimants right now we're sitting, as of August 4th, yesterday, we're sitting at 68,141 claimants that are receiving unemployment insurance benefits currently. And that number, of course, fluctuates depending on the claimants that come off and the claimants that come on. So I just wanted to give you a sense of what that looks like over the course of the last month and the last couple of months. So going back to 5/31 of 21, we're down 11,323 claimants receiving payments. And just over the last month, it's less than what would be half of that number. It's 2,740 claimants less than where we were on June 28th of 2021. So we are seeing a decline in overall claimants receiving benefits. Certainly this month compared to last is about half of what last month's rate per month was. So we're closely monitoring that both by occupations and demographics and counties. So just to give you a sense of where we're seeing some of the changes that we're noting, I'll highlight them for you here. Over the last month, we saw an increase in claims associated with the occupation code 11, which is management. 324 more claimants receiving benefits in that occupation, and also in occupation code 41, which is sales and related, just under 700 new claimants receiving payments month over month. So what we're doing, of course, is taking a look at those occupation groups, trying to understand not just by industry, but by employers and region where that's occurring. In terms of claimant demographics, those two increases in claimants receiving benefits are divided pretty evenly between demographic age 45 to 54 and 65 and above. So we're taking a deeper dive into where they are by county as well. So of course, over the last month, we've seen an increase. 2 months look back in Bernalillo County, 722 claims over the last, when comparing to where we were a couple months ago. And we're trying to understand the extent of which that's proportionate to changes in COVID transmission rates, business closures, any large business contraction announcements, and things like that. And there are none, so that's occurring at a high number of total employers who are sending claimants our way. It's important to note that week over week, the last week there were 9,397 new claims. So what we can attribute the majority of our increase in claims to are pandemic unemployment assistance applicants, which you all may recall is a program that is specifically providing eligibility to self-employed gig economy workers in the state. So we have seen an uptick in those program applicants from week ending 7/17 to week ending 7/24 there were 9,397 new pool claims, initial claims, and then of course on the regular unemployment side, the STUI side, about 2,500. So receiving about a third in regular claims relative to pool claims right now, week over week. That changes. It's important for us to share also that about 72% of new claims are locked down as suspected fraud. The agency continues to work in partnership with Tax and Rev, HSD, Department of Information Technology, and contractor support to really understand the extent at which all of these new claims are really fraudulent attempts at some of the federal extension programs that will expire on September 4th for the most part. So a lot of the work being done right now essentially is focused on identifying those fraudulent claims, locking them down within 48 hours, and essentially working on determining whether or not they're fraud through risk assessments, and so that we can get to work on the investigation side of it. I do want to share that on that front, a number of significant changes have occurred to really minimize fraud or the impact of fraud to New Mexicans. We've opened up some online web submission portals that assist impacted victims with a streamlined way to report fraud should they receive information that a claim has been filed on their behalf. We've also streamlined the reporting, the reporting process for employers who are also being noticed of fraudulent claims being filed against them as past employers. And then we've also put a halt on the issuance of debit cards and claim-related correspondence to give our fraud team ample opportunity to lock down claims before any correspondence or generation of EPI debit cards are issued out on those claims. And that's really that has really put kind of a lid on the number of calls that we receive from claimants who have received correspondence on claims that they didn't file, and it's also decrease significantly the number of concerns that are being raised to lawmakers, the governor's office, constituent support teams. So really all of that has been pointed at minimizing the amount of call volume that our operations center receives over the course of the day. And that, combined with a whole lot of other strategies, has proven to be a very effective for us in being able to achieve the governor's goal of answering 100% of calls offered to our UI operations center. Several weeks back, we reported to the governor that through a combination of increased staff strategies, increasing call distribution flow, increasing staff flow, and increasing the number of agents we have on the phones at a single time, we were able to achieve 100% of calls on a Friday, which is a low call volume day. We knew that our strategy was working. So for the past 2 weeks now, we've been able to answer 100% of all calls that come 4 days out of the week. That's Tuesday through Friday. We're getting really close on Monday, which is our busiest day for call operations because of the weekly certification process, but we got as high as 91% on Monday, 7/26. Otherwise, besides the Mondays over the past couple of weeks, we consistently answer every single call that's offered. What we're working on right now is that, especially during the morning hours, when more than 50% of our calls come in between 7 and 10, we do have about 400 abandoned calls typically that just don't come through because at the time they call, all of our agents are busy. So we've also worked on a strategy to generate reports on those callers, associate those phone numbers to claims, and then we actually have staff beginning at 11 a.m. calling all of those individuals back. And what we're seeing, of course, is that by Wednesday, those whose calls were abandoned on Monday have already been picked up. So it's been a pretty effective strategy that we've deployed. We want to send a shout out to a board member and Senator Michael Padilla, who's been very valuable and has lent us his time and expertise to get to this place. But one thing to note, is surely we see, a decrease in call volume, but that's not because we see a massive decrease in claims, right? You see that we've dropped only about 11,000 claimants in the last couple of months, but we're still hovering at about 60,000, 68,000 claimants who are receiving payments. So we believe that the decrease in call volume is attributed to more one-call resolutions that help us solve problems when claimants call the first time. So I'll stop there before going into kind of future goals, Madam Chair, to see if there are any questions from the board on unemployment insurance claims data.
Thank you so much, Ricky. Does anyone on the board have a question for Ricky? Yes, Councillor Sork.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Ricky, you said, go through that, or say again what the number of claimants we have collecting unemployment insurance.
Absolutely. The exact number as of August 4th is 68,141 receiving payments. And it's important to know, just a quick breakdown, 14,598 of those are on regular unemployment insurance programs, and the balance is 53,543 are on a federal extension program.
Okay, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to know also.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Ricky, do you know, I mean, I know that like there were fraudulent claims, and it's really kind of hard to know perhaps where were we at the peak and where are we now? I have a sense that we're basically at, 60%, we're at 40% of the unemployment claims that we had at the peak. Is that fair? Is that close?
Total claimants at the peak, it's less than that. You're right, less than 50%. So if I go back, I believe to, let me scroll back here, and we, it's amazing the access to data that we have. So
yes, it is.
Okay, so total claimants receiving payments has reached as high as,
Wasn't it like 130 or 140, something like that?
we have 150,120 receiving payments on June 17th, 2020, 150, 120.
So some portion of that may have been the fraudulent claims. So we could conceivably say that we are dramatically less in the number of folks that are unemployed. And then we know that the federal benefit will run out in September. I've seen a pretty rapid drop in the numbers over the last month. Is that what we can expect moving forward, that as we march closer to September, as schools open, that we can kind of expect to see a pretty rapid drop in the unemployment rate?
We can. So what we're working on right now as part of the communication strategy leading to the September 4th deadline for federal extension programs is dropping all of our existing claimants and programs into buckets, so that the direct communication to claimant will be specific to their program and their eligibilities. For example, if we have a claimant on PUA, we will isolate all the claimants on PUA whose eligibility will no longer exist after that date, and we'll direct communicate that to them. If there are claimants on a program that will be offered extended benefits, we'll notice that to them. But yes, to answer your question, we anticipate a sharp decline in total claimants receiving benefits after the September deadline. There are some federal regs that will require, the extension of filing new claims, going back to certain dates. And then, of course, we have a lot of closeout claims in the adjudication and appeals process that we'll still be working on for several months.
Thank you for that. And I do want to thank you for helping us give our board members opportunity to come into the meeting. I know we need to do roll call. It does not look like we'll have quorum today, so we'll not be able to vote, but we should do the official roll call. I do think everybody has been able to get in. So John, would you please do the roll call at this time?
Joanna Anaya. Tiffany Bretz.
Present.
Madam Chair.
Here.
Johannes Camino.
Here, present.
Brent Davis. Dale Decker. Deborah Heckus, Philip Ingram, Mark Lee,
Here.
Deborah Moore, Joshua Orozco,
Here.
John Rockwell, Carlos Romero,
Yes, I'm here.
Nancy Sauer,
Present.
Mathis Sinnick, Vince Alvarado, Director Chisholm,
I'm here.
Deputy Secretary Clark, Bobby Erig, Caller Kugler,
I'm here.
Samuel Calapo, Representative Montoya, Secretary Serna,
Here.
Deputy Secretary Madrano, Senator Padilla, Daniel Schlegel,
Here.
Mayor Snover, Councilor Sorg,
Yeah, I'm here.
Ezra Spitzer, I'm sorry,
Present.
Director Trapp.
Here.
All right, Madam Chair, we do not have quorum.
How shy of quorum are we, just in case people pop in late, which has happened in the past?
One business person will put us in quorum.
One business person. All right. All right, great. I am going to text a business person right now. One of the things that, that I really want to thank Ricky, he's, here he is, he's doing this interim role of being the secretary. And I want to say thanks to him, because I mean, if there was ever a time for the Workforce Solutions Department to lead the state, it's right now, as far as helping people connect, to employment, to connect education, to connect to resources. And, this has been this insane effort, but I really, Ricky, thank you for outlining everything that you did, that, the department has taken on, you and the team, and really just amazing work. And so while I text a member to see if I can get them on, I would like to ask to have the conversation. We'll go ahead and have another of our conversations about the Transformation Committee update. Yolanda and Daniel and I can all talk about that. Yolanda, do you want to start? Daniel, do you want to start?
So Chair, I just wanted to know if, first of all, because we did have 2 items for Secretary Serna, and I don't know if he wanted to say anything else in terms of like workforce development priorities for this next fiscal year. If you had anything you wanted to add to that, Ricky, I just want to make sure we didn't cut you short.
If the board is interested in some of the key priorities, I can highlight just a few of them to keep. Some of them are, of course, are integral to UI, and we've brought over a contractor now that's performing a 360 review of the agency from the top down to be sure that we're in a position that can help us not just move through the pandemic, but certainly come out on the other end a stronger agency than going in. So that's key to UI program integrity and comprehensive strategy for UI Ops Center to increase its capacity. But a couple of other things outside of that the agency is working on, of course, is the implementation of House Bill 20, otherwise the enforcement of the New Mexico paid sick leave law. So we're working right now with the governor's office and to identify the increased resources that the agency will need from a labor relations division perspective for the enforcement of House Bill 20, and that of course will allow for us to develop the process by which New Mexicans submit concerns and complaints about noncompliance and our ability to issue determinations following investigations. So that's key for us. As you all know, and you'll talk about, and many of you are participating in the improvement of Title I implementation to local boards, right? And I know you'll hear a little bit more about that. We're really working tirelessly for full translation of our UI tax and claim system to include Spanish language for ELL claims and constituents. So that's a major project that began several years back that we'll continue to push through with a lot of priority. Growth of our apprenticeship programs has been an initiative for the governor from the very beginning. Certainly the pandemic has pumped the brakes on a number of things we were trying to do by way of diversifying not only our programs, but our apprentices statewide, which are now predominantly males. So we're going to focus, again, on priority sectors: hospitality, tourism, healthcare, IT, film, education are major for us. In fact, we were able to finally get the first RN apprenticeship program approved about a year and a half after we received a grant to help us get that done. Integral to the state's economic recovery is a focus on our employment services, becoming, of course, the #1 resource for job seeking and skill building and placement services in the state of New Mexico. At the core of that is the Ready New Mexico project that we launched a couple months ago. The ready.nm.gov website, which you all can visit, is a one-stop location where not only New Mexicans can identify with vacant job positions, but also connect the dots between those positions, where they're located, the skills, the minimum quals, and the training opportunities available to help them meet those minimum skills and qualifications for those jobs. We've partnered with the higher education department that has been phenomenal in bringing post-secondary institutions to the table to actually develop short-term workforce development programs that align with the current job vacancies in the state of New Mexico and regionally. So it's wonderful for us to actually utilize WIOA funding in a meaningful way in partnership with post-secondary institutions to allow New Mexicans to really pivot, upskill, and move into an occupation that perhaps they weren't skilled for pre-pandemic. We've also developed a toll-free number to a career consultant. We all collectively felt that if there's one number that want you to call to get assistance with transition benefits, we should have one number that you can call to get help with transitioning back to work. So the 800-303-3599 toll-free number has been set up. It allows New Mexicans, that's both employers and job seekers, to reach a career consultant with the Department of Workforce Solutions and the offices of Workforce Connections. There, of course, as a business owner and employer, you can get assistance with, fulfilling your workforce needs. And as a job seeker, we can move you through the career consultation and Title I referral process. We also have a live chat feature on the website, which also gets our constituents connected to career consultants, business outreach specialists, ASAP. What's wonderful about this project, this website, and these single line points of access for career consultations and Title I resources is that now access for New Mexicans has expanded, right, as we understood how we could function in a virtual environment. So in the past, where you needed to be more physically located to a Workforce Connection Center to get services, now we can actually provide services statewide, virtually, and over the phone, and certainly get New Mexicans connected with job opportunities, not just close to them, but those perhaps that are not close to them that lend themselves to virtual work. So, and then the last thing, and again, a couple of things that are important, of course, is our fulfilling our role in the Energy Transition Act, right, and picking up where Secretary McCamley left off with the RFI process for identifying these high-level strategies that address, anchor replacement in the northwestern part of the state. And then the last thing is we're a key player among other state agencies in the development of a state longitudinal data system. I think I've shared this with you in the past, but we're moving closer than we ever have before to establishing this system that really will allow New Mexico to understand how its fund allocations, how its resources have yielded higher earning wages and successful outcomes for New Mexicans from birth to employment. So we're excited about seeing that. So, I apologize, Madam Chair, for racing through that, but I didn't want to take up too much time, but certainly wanted to underscore that.
No, that's
You know,
okay.
that-
You
that we're doing
handled
some stuff.
you handled two of our other agenda items, but we'll come back to them just on the chance that we get that one board member we're missing and we can approve we'll go in order on the agenda just in case. But no, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your work and your leadership, and we really do appreciate it. Okay, so Daniel, Yolanda and I can talk about the Transformation Committee update. Whoever wants to start, please do.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just real briefly kick off, but Yolanda, in particular, her team has really been doing the core of this work. But we've, at the direction of the governor's office, we have set a schedule for, I believe it's 8 visits around the state in various communities to go through and do some outreach and education on the workforce system for one, and to really tee up our case for support of the transformation of the workforce system. So I'll just go ahead and stop there, and Yolanda or Tracy, if you want to chime in. I know we had our first one in Farmington last week, or at the beginning of the week, and there's some good feedback from that we're running through, I think, later today as well. So Yolanda or Tracy?
I think probably, Tracy, do you want to go ahead and start first?
You go ahead. I was going to say
Okay.
you go.
And I think, John, there is a couple of slides that we can push up on that so that we can show the board, because I think, so here's the thing. So working with Daniel and with the governor's office, we reported at the last meeting that the governor agreed that we needed to go out and get community input on a proposal for a 2-board scenario. So what we're doing is we're actually proposing 2 scenarios that could be potentials for a 2-board scenario. The feedback was based also from feedback that we got at the federal level, because when they saw the proposal, and I had been honest with the board and telling you that we're working side by side with our federal counterparts so that they can also be engaged with us in these conversations, and they're giving us technical assistance and guidance. So one of the things that they noted with the proposal that we had included is that we needed to make sure that in a scenario that the counties would be contiguous. So we couldn't do a scenario where we had just an urban, and it had like Doña Ana floating out here by itself, and we had the other urban centers up here. And so what we've done is we've gone ahead, and if you recall, during our work as a board, we also had talked about a couple of, we talked about several scenarios. So the Rio Grande Corridor Map, the one that you're seeing that's up, is one of the proposed scenarios. And this is taking the work that you've done where you wanted 2 boards and you wanted to do this urban rural kind of split. But what we had to do is we just took the counties that you had and we made it contiguous. And so
I want to say thanks to the Central Board, because they were the ones that said, well, gosh, if we were going to do 2 boards, let's think even, different. And so thank you, Central Board, for proposing this. We were like, oh, we already have the solution. So thank y'all. Okay,
right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So it was taking that into account that we had to be contiguous. And then also, as the board chair, Brian, is indicating, we had a proposal that was submitted to us by the Central Board that essentially helped us to meet this need. So this is one of the scenarios that we're presenting. You can see here the budget, and we had budgets that we were presenting to the board all along, because you had been seeing scenarios and seeing what the funding formulas would look like. This one is the funding formula with the whole area here. And what you're seeing on here too are some other, there's dots and all of this stuff on the map, but it's just indicating where we have offices, where we have co-location, or we might have all the title programs exist in that particular area, and the universities. But behind this also is another set of, there's more reference tools around what's implicated for this particular corridor. The next corridor, or the next scenario, and John, you can advance the slide, is the split state. And this one we had talked about definitely as part of our work, because you had seen this scenario before. So this one just took the state and basically split it into 2. It was a north and a central, a north in a south area, and it's got the counties indicated there, and it's pretty much an even split. You've got 17 counties up in the north central area, and the southwest southeast area is made up of 16 counties. And so again, it's just looking at that from that perspective. We also put some data behind that so that we could help the participants understand, like, what's the population size, what are the commuting patterns, what are the major industries that they would see in either one of these scenarios. And the whole intention on the transformation is for them to react to these two maps using a SWOT approach. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? And then we're just gathering feedback from that. But we are giving them an idea of what the population sizes would look like, the actual money breakdown, what that would look like, and what kind of services and supports are in there. And that all aligns with the required discussion points when you're looking at local area designation and regional work, is you have to make sure about the commuting paths. You have to talk about the impact to those things in terms of the population, commuting patterns, largest industries, services and supports that are available. What does that mean in terms of having capacity to actually have training providers, to have service delivery pieces in both of these scenarios? So that's the update that we have for you at this point. We did have our first meeting on Monday in Farmington. The next one is scheduled. We were working in partnership with the Northern, I forget what they're called, Northern University, Northern New Mexico University, in Espanola. And we had all intentions to be there in person. They have changed their guidelines at their particular university, and they're going to post it for us, but we're going to be hosting that one virtually. So it will give us an opportunity to sort of work in that process as well. We do have some folks already registered for that, and we'll be going through a similar process, taking a lot of learning that we had from the first one. And again, the goal is simply to get feedback and input from the participants, looking at it from that lens with that SWOT analysis, really taking a dive into, well, what would be some of the strengths, what would be some of the weaknesses, what would be the opportunities, and what would be the threats. And I think, Board Chair, if you want to go ahead and give just a quick summary on what your thoughts were on the meeting outcome itself, I will save that for you.
Oh, thank you so much. So, and John, you can take the slide down. So what I think is really neat is giving the community a chance to understand where we're at, to be really transparent with where we're at, where we've been, kind of where and why we're seeking to go this way. And what I love about a community conversation, and it happens over and over again, is people who don't do this day in and day out, they'll have some idea you never even thought of, right? And that's the value of a community conversation. And so it's not just about collecting, yays or nays, it's about collecting, we need the system to do this, and what if we did that? And, people who are outside the system having an opportunity to understand it a little more, but yet speak to needs that they've seen that maybe we could meet as we do this together, and make it better. The whole goal, right, is making everything work really well for the job seekers and the business community of New Mexico. I say all the time, it's actually not about any of us, right? It's about the people at the end of the day who are sitting across the desk from someone in a Workforce Connections office or an employer who's calling and saying, I need help and can you help me? So, so really thinking through how do we take and leverage these dollars to achieve the greatest impact. And I thought it was really good. A lot of folks from San Juan College were in the room, and they really, it's the same thing that has surfaced in our board conversation before about how could we better leverage workforce dollars and higher ed dollars. I do see that playing out through the Ready New Mexico initiative, but we've even talked as a board about making sure that we've co-located workforce centers on college campuses, because in so many communities, the community college is the key to obtaining a credential, or a degree or whatever. So, so a lot of opportunity for people to kind of think big, and I just think it's a really healthy, valuable conversation. I'll just share a quick story that happened in another another piece of work I was in, there was just a bunch of people who lived in a community, and they were trying to put in an entrance to a shopping center, but there was a train track in the way. And, you know, all the engineers and the smart people, they're like, well, we can't put one there because you can't disrupt. It was like a metro. It was a city train. You can't upset the train track. And we'd have to be down for like 6 months. And just this lady who just ran a security firm goes, well, could you go under it? And her question stumped them all, but they all figured out an innovative way to deliver that. And yes, the train track was closed for 6 hours because they figured out a way to tunnel under and put in the entrance that was needed. So it's the value of community conversations. You get the greatest ideas from people that just have the opportunity to speak. So that's why I'm excited that we're doing this statewide. I think we're going to have a total of 9. We did want 2 per region. And then we've also offered the New Mexico Chamber of Commerce one for themselves, for their members specifically, so that we ensure that we've captured business voice, since they are, obviously one of the 2 key members in the system. So all that to be said, I don't know if we have hit quorum. I did reach out to Debbie Moore, and she's going to try to get in. John, Debbie's not in yet, right? Oh, she needs the login. Send her the login, and then we can get to quorum. In the meanwhile, any questions or comments from the board?
Chair, we do have 2 phone numbers on the attendee list that we haven't confirmed if they are panelists or not.
Oh, who is, the ending number is 1451. Who is that? Do you mind? You can say something, we'll hear you. 1451.
Hi, I'm not a board member. It's Maria Easier from DACC.
Oh, hey.
Nobody.
You're not. You're adult education. You would never be a nobody. Thank you, Maria. All right. 2491. We will give you talking privileges so we can hear who you are.
Hi, good morning. This is Camille Padilla with Equus Workforce Solutions. So also not a board member.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting us know. We're one person shy of quorum, and that person is going to call in as soon as they get the login. So Veronica, if you can send Debbie her login, that would be awesome. So in that, is there any other questions about the transformation stuff?
I do want to add, it would be great if, we'll get the schedule out to the board members too.
Yes.
And I know we've done that, but it would be great if you want to participate in a session. I mean, it would be lovely. So if we are coming into your region, in that area, it would be great to have you. I know some of you are, from out of town for sure. But I think it would be helpful for the community to also know more broadly who some of our state board members are. So I think that would be great.
Yeah, and the listening opportunity that this is amazing. So the ones that we know we're doing, we know that we're going to be doing one in Las Cruces, Deming, Clovis. I can't remember if we decided on Hobbs or Carlsbad, but one of those 2. We will do one obviously in Albuquerque. We've got the virtual one with Northern, the virtual one with the New Mexico Chamber. And I feel like I'm missing one. Maybe not. Does that sound right?
I think that's all we have for now. We're meeting this afternoon. We're meeting on Monday for sure. I know there's a brief meeting today just to do a debrief, but
okay.
And I agree. I think the whole goal of this is to get some input and to listen to the community in terms of what they're thinking. And it's not always it's not all strengths-based. I mean, I think that's the whole thing. Some of it they do have concerns, and that's fair. And we're listening to those, and we'll compile all that. So the whole goal is once we have all of this done and completed, there'll be a comprehensive report that will come back to the state board so that you can we can weigh in into all of the information and the pieces that we've collected. We've also have an open line, essentially an email address, and John can announce that, but we have an email address So for anyone who's interested in providing feedback written, they can also do that too. So we are committed to this community input process and are looking for input in a variety of ways.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so thank you, Debbie Moore, for joining us. You would think we had quorum, but Johannes just jumped off for a second, but he says he's coming back in. So we will be patient on waiting for quorum today. I'm sorry, it's quorum gymnastics here at the State Workforce Board meeting. In that vein, while we wait for Johannes to get right back in, because he says he will, I would like to ask Yolanda to talk about the longitudinal data system. And I want to thank all of you. When we discussed this and we discussed going after federal money in order to do this, we reached out and said, if you would be so kind as to send a letter of support. And I have it on the high authority of Rachel Moskowitz that those letters made a big difference. And so we did secure that grant. And if you took time to send that letter, I just wanted to say thank you. I know the letters matter. We have secured 2 other federal grants from the Department of Education for the state based upon just a wide number of responses in letters of support. So thank you very much. Yolanda, you want to talk about the longitudinal data system?
Yes, so I don't have a whole lot to report on this other than we did get the grant. So one is the Workforce Development Quality Initiative, which is a grant that's specific to workforce agencies. Now, the state longitudinal database or data system is something that's parallel. That's also happening, and that was funded with some general fund dollars. That is a partnership between us and the higher ed department, and I believe public ed is also involved in this as well as the early childhood ECD. They've got a crazy acronym, but the early childhood division, the new one. So there's that going on, and then the Workforce Development Quality Initiative. Now, the piece with the WDQI that we received, the states historically have received this grant. So we're one of the last states to be in the queue, and it's pretty exciting. So sometimes it's not great to be first, because if you are first, you're sort of setting the pace. What we are going to get the benefit of being a state that's coming into this process later than other states is that there's already a ton of learning, and there's already a ton of lessons learned. And so it's probably going to be able, we're probably going to be able to jump in a whole lot faster and doing things in a way that is not going to be as difficult. So that's one of the good pieces. Now, with the WDQI, what it affords to us is also a whole host of federal partners, national partners, who will be helping us to really lead the initiative and thinking about the strategies that we're going to be putting into place and how that's going to fit, and how we can make it happen and how we can make it work. So it gives us some really good consultation and support so that we can launch that and we can do it well. We'll be looking at our existing systems and some of the pieces that we can build from, and then start to build from there. But then also doing it parallel with the state longitudinal data system, noting that we want to make sure that whatever workforce data quality pieces we're changing or wanting to inform and wanting to use to support that it also is aligned with that project, and it sort of just helps us launch forward. The good news here is New Mexico is in a great place because we've got this federal grant, plus we've got the state longitudinal database piece that was already starting, and now we just have enough resources so that we can really move forward. What I want to say also is that we're going to be creating a state governance team, and this is really exciting too, because when you've got data and you've got all of these pieces in, it's important that we're not just creating data portals for data portals' sake, but that we're also making sure that the data that we're wanting to support or the data that we're wanting to use, that it makes sense, that and how we're collecting it and how we're making it available is really truly meaningful, and it's going to be useful to the goals that we're going to have overall. So with the governance team at the state level, with leaders who are thinking about what does this data need to do and what does it need to tell us, I think is going to be really critical. We've never had that in New Mexico. We have people that are working, but they're all over the place, and nobody's all coming together just as a governance team. And so the Workforce Development Quality Improvement Initiative requires us to have a data governance team and sets us up for that structure so that we can get that done. So we're really excited about that. Now, with the state data longitudinal system, we had already had some beginnings of that, but with the WDQI, we're going to put it on steroids. It's going to be much more organized, and it's going to have a real critical role in the way that we're doing this work. And once it's organized and developed, like I'm an individual that's going to be sitting on that, there'll be representative from public ed, from higher ed, from the early childhood, probably even from human services. So they'll be bringing in the leadership on that and then really thinking about the structure and what we want to put in place. So the second part of this on the presentation that I wanted to do today too was just how this links also with the National Governors Association. So as you all recall, New Mexico was a recipient of a small grant under the National Governors Association. And we wrote that grant specifically to help support Ready New Mexico and launch it, because we saw Ready New Mexico as a really important point for us around transformation too, that this system or the way that this model and the approach that we're taking here would have ways of informing the way that we need to think about, or maybe even changing our delivery model around employment services and just access for job seekers and for the business community. So there are some things that we're hoping to learn out of Ready New Mexico. With that grant, we focused on the marketing piece and all, launching it, but also an evaluation component so that we could take the learning from that and see what does that have to do with this. Now, in the process with the National Governors Association, what's really wonderful about it is that it linked us to peer opportunities with other states to learn about things that they were doing. And we had a consultant who was listening to us and some of the issues and concerns that we're thinking about. And her light bulb went on and she said, this really also links to your WDQI and your state longitudinal pieces. And so how about New Mexico thinking about extending our time as a group? And we're going to be working as a small group through December to get some additional consultation from another group that's called Ripple. And they're research improving people's lives. And what's really interesting with them is the gentleman that leads that was in the same role that I have. So he had worked with the workforce connection. He had to implement WIOA. And so now he's working for Ripple. And essentially what they do is they use data. They're specifically there to work with states to help us use data, science and technology to improve policy and the lives and the citizens that we work with. There's one tool that they have that's called Data for Opportunity and Occupation Reskilling Solutions. So it's using artificial intelligence. And as Secretary Cerna was talking initially, our goal is to push out information to some of our unemployed individuals, right? But wouldn't it be nice if we had some tools and technology that were pushing out information to our unemployed in things that make sense to them? Here's a career pathway that we think you're close to, would be great for you. And we could push it rather than waiting for them to call us and us trying to sell it to them. So that's some of the pieces that we're looking at. I'm really excited about, about the work ahead with the WDQI, and kudos to New Mexico for finally being in the queue on this. I think it's going to be a good lift. It's exciting times, and we're all just ready to just jump in there and start working.
Yolanda, I wanted to make a suggestion, and I was on mute. So when you guys put this council together, I think it's important to have private sector voice or voices on that as well. I think, it could be somebody like the New Mexico Chamber. It could, somebody who from a statewide voice is kind of representative of, the end recipient of essentially your longitudinal data system is talking about your talent development pipeline from pre-K to K-12 to college and university, the workforce system, to career. And it would be really, really helpful for us to think through from a employer perspective, especially if they're knowledgeable about our economic development sectors, how the pipeline is performing. So I think that would be just a suggestion I wanted to make. Does anybody have any questions for Yolanda about this? And then Nan asked, what's the duration of the grant?
The duration of the grant. Wow, that was like something that was like one thing I didn't look at. I will get it to you though before the meeting is over, because I do have the grant application, or it's here on my desk somewhere, but I do have that. I'll get it to you. I think it's like, I want to say like a 3-year grant, but don't hold me to that for sure, but I'm almost positive it's.
That sounds familiar. Carla, you had a question.
I do. I don't know if it's a question or a comment. So employer engagement for this ready to work. Do we have plans for, involvement to try and get the most out of employers to actually get these people actively, working? My suggestion of this is to leverage the power of associations, because they have access to employers in greater number. But I just didn't know if they're, what the plan is for, this ready to work, because it looks great. And as far as looking at, the billboards and a lot of the marketing for people, what can we do to help as far as bring in employer engagement for this process?
Excellent question.
And Carla has jumped to our next presentation on Ready New Mexico.
Oh.
So because and we'll jump into that one, because I think that's exactly why we have a state board, right? Is because we need your thoughts on that as well. We need the leadership on this team to think about, like, if you're the business leaders, what works for you? What do we do? How can we engage with businesses? What would make sense? But let's wrap up this first, because I do want to show the slides on Ready New Mexico. Did anybody else have any questions about the WDQI and the state longitudinal database and the system, or the pieces that we're working on there? Exciting work. It's way over my head, because sometimes these folks are speaking geek speak, and what I understand is that I get to stop them and be consistent with that and say, okay, so what does this mean? What are you doing? I understand, but it's a lot about databases on the back end and processes and strategies that I don't always understand what they're talking about, but I'm looking forward to learning a whole new language.
And to Tracy's point, I think that would be why it's good to have someone from the private sector involved to maybe know on the very last part of getting people employed, how is this going to work for regular citizens and regular employers?
Right.
Well, I wanted to say, Veronica, just for kicks, send Dale Decker the link, because he just texted me and he might be able to get in. We are still waiting for Johannes. This is hilarious. Maybe we'll have quorum by the end of the meeting. Okay, moving on. So yes, thank you, Carla, for setting us up for the excellent transition for Ready New Mexico. And John, maybe just for kicks. Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. I forgot we had a presentation. I was thinking we needed to pull the website up. The website looks really great, you guys. So go to the URL also, but go ahead, Yolanda.
Yeah, so we did want to share a little bit with the State Workforce Board on Ready New Mexico, because this is a really important piece. And I think, if anything, that the State Workforce Board needs to take away is to understand that, in essence, we have kind of added a different business approach or business model to the way that we were doing work around employment services. So, we had offices, and we still have offices. People can still go to those offices. But what we've done now as well is we've created a virtual option. And as Secretary Cernan was saying earlier, is like, with that 800 number and with this website, it's essentially, you now have like a virtual one-stop center where you can also get some additional information in terms of what's available. And it's kind of like a one-stop, but a one-stop on a state level. So it's not just a one-stop for like Carlsbad or Albuquerque or Taos, but it's looking at as a one-stop on a statewide level. The URL that's listed down here, readynewmexico.gov, will take you to a really swanky website. And we, I think I can click on it, but if not, we'll come back to that later. Let's go to the next slide. The other part that Ready New Mexico has done, so aside from creating a website and a virtual place where both the job seeker and the business agencies can also connect and get information about what they need, because on that website it has a place for job seekers and has a place for businesses, and there's links and resources and things that they can do, but they can also call that 1-800-9, that 1-800 line, and get connected to a career advisor who will also connect them and refer them to the services and supports that they're interested in or that they need. But in addition to that, what we've done is we've used some money, what we call our WIOA set-aside funds, to stand up new programs with universities and colleges. And the purpose here was so that we could work with our colleges to really think about short-term training programs that would make a difference so that we could help push people back into the workplace that would get them prepared. And so this is an example of some of the awards that we've done so far. New Mexico State University was awarded on fiber optics. As you know, the whole broadband piece is getting ready, it's getting pushed out, and they saw a need to do that certification on there to get those certified fiber optic technicians and some other certifications in fiber optics to get employees out the door. And they did work specifically with an employer who said, if you build this, I will hire these folks because we're needing to bring people in and start to push them out. So that was one of the requirements for them as they were developing these awards. They had to identify employers that actually they had a conversation with them and they talked about how many employees, what are we looking at, how can we do this and do it quickly. Santa Fe College was on a 3D printing, really interesting piece here. They're going to actually use some of these funds to purchase a 3D printer that is going to train folks in design thinking and introduction to digital design. And they'll get the 3D printing operator master badge. The next slide, John, is San Juan College submitted 4 projects. Some of these were a lot more focused on like the soft skills that would be necessary in order to jump into these pieces. So the healthcare administrative support, and this is really interesting because when we were in Farmington, I sat with a couple of women who were talking about the shortage and not being able to find some skilled people to come in and do some of these administrative things in that kind of an environment. So this was really good, but they're getting soft skill badges that will help them around what are the soft skills associated with that industry, working within that kind of an office and what you need to do, problem solving for that kind of an office, using the tools in the context of healthcare administration. Information technology was a lot more, this is more intense, pretty much in alignment with what we're seeing with CNM, but this was San Juan College being able to stand up that same CompTIA network piece and doing those boot camps at their level to support some important IT certification. And then the last 2 were related to food service, but also to the hospitality and tourism industries. So it was really around these pieces for manager certification, being able to come in and step into these roles with the certification and with some real skills so that they could go in and not have to just do it while they were on the job as well. So the tourism industry up there and the retail industry up there, desperate to find individuals, but also desperate to find individuals who could come in and step into positions with some good skill up and training that they've already had, rather than just trying to work through OJTs. So this is just an example of some of the awards. We're hoping, I know the Eastern Board is working with Clovis Community College on another soft skills piece, had a conversation with Beth Elias there, the administrator, and we had that conversation. I said, please, work with them, because if that is something that we really need in that area, we need you as, the lead for the board there to talk to the community college to help them know how to gear up. And then the next slides were just examples of some of the billboards that have gone up. John, you can just keep scrolling through those. But the billboards and some of the marketing pieces that came out as a result of Ready, New Mexico. These billboards are going up statewide. We also have and are launching a social media campaign and a media campaign on this that will include some radio spots. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there might be some television spots as well associated with this marketing campaign. But back to your question, Ms. Kugler, you know, we need, you know, I'm interested in your question about how do we engage businesses more around what they need as well. With the website itself, when they link into the website, there is a place that takes them to some of the services that they need. What we've done is we've shortened the process or the pathway into like actually list jobs that they have available, and to get assistance for, like, you know, either helping them to host a job fair, doing recruitment, to supporting them with other information that they might need if they're a small business, because it does have resources to other things other than just us, right? Because the whole point of Ready New Mexico and the website is that it's a resource link. It's more than just coming to us. It also has information on childcare, transportation, information on COVID safety, and where things are going. But on the business side, there is a whole host of pieces for them around tax credits to my brain is, but linkages back to the Small Business Development Center and some other items that we could need. But they can also tell us in their referral, you know, what they're needing assistance with, and it goes in and it goes straight to the business teams in that particular area that they're from, so that they can actually get a follow-up, get somebody to call them, coordinate with them, and identify what they might need to, what they might need.
Carla, Debbie, Dale, do you guys, I mean, anybody that is, you know, coming from that business employer side, what do you suggest that we do to make sure that this is getting in the hands of employers? And Carla, I'll start with you because you asked the question.
So, well, I mean, my first suggestion would be the Society of Association Executives. They were the one that launched the New Mexico Safe Certified for, you know, mostly for, you know, I know it was restaurants and hospitality specifically, but a lot of the businesses and companies use that, you know, their associations as resources for that. I think it would be a good blanket approach to reach out to the, you know, the NMSAE to get a good, at least a good base of all of the companies, because they represent associations from every facet and throughout the state. They did a wonderful job with that program. That would be one suggestion.
Thank you, Carla. DJ Heckus is on the panelists, on the attendee side. So Veronica, if you can help move DJ over, she's a board member. And so after we have this discussion, we are going to need to just get the people who have come in late to be a part of the roll call. So just,
thank you.
But we are going to finish our conversation. Dale, I saw you turn your camera on.
Yeah, well, good morning, everybody. Sorry, I was a little bit late to the party here. I think there, locally in Albuquerque, I think there's a HR association. Oh, sorry. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. There's an HR association that would benefit from this. I know that KOB Channel 4, I ought to talk to Michelle Donaldson and see if she would post this site as well, and also maybe get a little PR out of it with an on-camera interview from somebody from Workforce Solutions, directing people to this site. And, I think what we're all experiencing is, we're having a hard time getting people back into the office to work. We're having a hard time hiring because and onboarding and everything else that goes along with, bringing on employees. Plus, we're just not seeing a lot of people out there kind of looking for work right now. There's definitely more demand than there is supply, particularly in, I think, in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. And I've heard the same thing about hospitality and tourism. So I think it's going to be a matter really of just how do we use our channels, social media. I don't know if you guys have a Facebook page, but if we could maybe get our social media people, like in our office, could post it to our social media pages, both on Facebook and LinkedIn. And again, we're just trying to reach people and get a resource out there. So I think we're going to have to use all the channels we can get to get as much coverage as we can.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity, Dale. Thank you for that. Debbie, you have suggestions?
Well, I'm just going to ditto what Dale said. I think it's important that we reach all the chambers, all the business associations, and I agree with Carla. Some people respond to their association, some people respond through chamber, many things. And first, I'll offer up, the State Chamber Association. We can do a presentation so that they understand. Yolanda, you and I can work on a date to have you present to all the chambers and have them link out, and then they can get it out to their local associations. I agree with Dale. It's all hands on deck. We've got to get them to know. I mean, Tracy's been on enough calls to know that a lot of chambers don't even understand the process themselves. So even now that we're doing a new program, we need to connect the dots with the chambers so they can connect the dots with their businesses. So I think we're all saying the same thing. It's just, we've got to just get the word out.
Thank you, Debbie.
I'm so grateful to hear this, because I will tell you, as we have a Ready New Mexico all hands meeting coming. We have one tomorrow, I think. Yeah, Ready tomorrow. It's a touch point for us. But one of the things that I don't think we thought about as part of the marketing was the business associations. Mm-hmm. And I will bring that up so that we can make sure that it is included. I won't say for sure that they had, but I haven't heard that lately. And that certainly makes a whole lot of sense as for the marketing side of it, to push it out to the business association so that we can make sure, one, that you're linking it either to your pages as well, right? And so that you're also marketing it straight out to the businesses that you're serving. We definitely want to do that.
And Tracy, Madam Chair, and Yolanda, just respond to what Dale said about the human resources. It's really key. There's several human resource associations, I think, throughout the state. I think they're different chapters, but I think that's a key element of getting that information of what we're doing out. Sherman, we've all have contacts with them, but I think that is a really key element in addition. But we can, I think between Dale and I and Carla, we can keep you guys busy on getting the information out.
Awesome. Tiffany, I see you turned your camera on. Did you have a suggestion as well?
Really just echoing what they've all said. I think the chambers are going to be very important, and then SHRM is a great idea, getting them involved. As HR, that's where we get a lot of our information from. So I think they can reach a lot of businesses. And then, kind of echoing what Dale said, that one of the challenges that we're having is getting people that want to get back to work. And, we're seeing our openings are slowly but surely creeping up, and, trying to find people that want to come work has been challenging.
Yeah, and that's not just a New Mexico thing, that's an everywhere thing, the national conversation about this. And I don't know if you have heard, there's actually a study I just read, I think like this week, about there's going to be another round of people leaving their jobs and pursuing other employment because they like to work from home and they didn't have a work from home job, or they have been rethinking their career trajectory or whatever. So there's a whole nother round of this that we might be expecting to see in the next year. And so it's an interesting story. If I could think of who did it, I would be happy to tell you all. Look, just real quickly. So I just want to remind people, I didn't go over the rules at the beginning because we didn't even have quorum, but like limit what you put in the chat, because we're not supposed to put things in the chat. And I'm going to do the job of making sure that I say out loud things that are in the chat. I do want to say that John put the website in the chat, ready.nm.gov, which you're welcome to review. Ricky has put in the chat that the public information officer for the department is going to coordinate some radio interviews. So that will be taking place across the state. He said he had the first one in Gallup occurred this week in Gallup, and there are more scheduled. Elaine Perea is offering to use the public education department to reach families. If you guys, Elaine's got a pretty good network if you want to use her for that. So I think that being said, I think I've captured most everything. I see Steve Duran has put a link to employeenm.com in the chat, and I think that is pretty much everything that I see in the chat. So just don't put in the chat if you don't mind, and sorry for that. Now, quickly, before we lose anybody else, John, can we do roll call with these 3 members who have joined us late?
Dale Decker,
Here.
Deborah Heckus,
Here.
Deborah Moore.
Here.
And it is a glorious thing. Thank you all for being willing to help us achieve quorum.
And Madam Chair, I will have to remove Johannes Camuino right now.
Right?
Okay. And
Yeah,
with
that's
that,
fine.
we do have quorum.
Yay. Okay. So quickly before anybody else leaves. So as you remember, so we don't have to do roll call votes all meeting long. It's funny now that we're at the end. Would anybody like to propose a revision to the agenda? And if so, I'll accept a motion to change the agenda. And if not, we're going to accept the agenda as it is, as it has been prepared. Isn't it a good thing we've stayed on agenda? Okay, so the one voting item that we have, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, please.
So moved.
I'll make the motion.
Dale, and then Josh, we'll count you as the second. Will that work?
Works.
All right. Any comments, changes to the minutes of the last meeting that anyone would like to propose? All right, then John, would you please do the roll call vote to approve the minutes?
Tiffany Brett.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Dale Decker.
Yes.
Deborah Heckus.
Yes.
Mark Lee.
Yes.
Deborah Moore.
Yes.
Joshua Orozco.
Yes.
Carlos Romero.
Yes.
Nancy Sauer.
Yes.
Director Chisholm.
Yes.
Carla Kugler.
Sorry, yes.
Secretary Cerna.
He might have popped off.
Okay, with that, we'll go with Deputy Secretary Montoya Cordova.
Yes.
Daniel Schlegel.
Daniel, you're on mute if you're. We may need somebody to text him.
Councilor Sorg.
Yes.
Ezra Spitzer.
Yes.
Director Trapp.
Yes.
Daniel Schlegel.
Boy. We will see if we can get his vote here in just a second. Do we have quorum if Daniel doesn't vote?
Yes.
We do. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then we will count him as what is that he was just a non-vote, like he isn't a yes or a no.
That's correct. He'd be a no vote.
Oh, a no vote.
So
Okay.
just be he was absent.
Absent. Yeah. Well, then thank you for approving the minutes. Before the end of the meeting, this is a great board. Now, seriously, thank you guys for being here and doing this. Now, I will turn the tables over to John for a minute. We have 2 people registered for public comment. We observe the same rules as pretty much everybody, with a limit of 3 minutes for public comment. So, John, I'm going to let you handle that.
Mr. Weathers.
Daniel, we needed your vote on the minutes. Can you just say yes or no on the minutes?
Yes, and apologies, I had to step away.
No
But
worries.
yes.
All right, we're good. Okay.
Joseph Weathers.
Yes, sir.
All right, you are now on the clock.
Thank you.
First off, I am Joseph Weathers. I'm the chairman of the Northern Board. I'd like to thank the chair and the board members for listening to me. I'd also like to offer congratulations to Deputy Yolanda and Secretary Ricky for their wonderful collaboration with PED and the programs that were instituted during the summer. I really liked that was. And I'd like to also thank, as you said, San Juan College, Farmington Schools, Economic Development from San Juan and Cibola County, Farmington Fire Department, our service provider, the board staff, and the board members that attended the Farmington event. I do have requests to you, Madam Chair. First is if we could reinstitute the meeting in Las Vegas. I have reached out to Luna Vocational College and they have expressed optimism that they would host an event. The other thing I would like to request is you allowed the central board to submit a proposal that you're submitting in public comment. The Northern Board would also like to submit a proposal that could be considered in the other community meetings. And then my third request would be if you could share with the boards the feedback from the meetings, the public comment meetings.
Okay, is that it? That's it? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the whole thing is we're going to share the public comment with the board. So that fear not, that will take place. And then that's what the meetings are for. And I mean, I know I don't have to address, issues in public comment, but basically you're asking for what is going to happen exactly. And that's what the whole point of our community engagement process is we will, if somebody else has something they wanted to propose, that's part of the process. That's exactly why we're there. We're exactly in the communities to have these discussions. And so yes, please, if you guys have something that you guys are thinking about, that's all going to be part of what we distill at the end of this process and bring forward to the board so that whatever the final recommendation is, it's really representative of what we have heard across the state. So thank you for that. It was good to be in Farmington. If you've never been to San Juan College, it's quite an impressive campus there. And Dr. Tony Pendergrass, who's the president, she's really running an amazing institution with her staff up there. So thanks to them for hosting us. And then as far as the Las Vegas thing, we tried to do it in Las Vegas, but perhaps that's something we can revisit. So thank you for your comment. All right, John, back to you on public comment.
Steve Duran, you are now on the clock.
Okay. Well, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Steve Duran, WIOA Administrator with the Southwestern area. We have a lot of activities going on in our region to include enhancing our integrated service delivery model with workforce partners and other continuous improvement activities. Earlier this calendar year, we developed an initiative to enhance our integrated resource team model to include more partners. This model wraps multiple services around individuals at one time who have multiple barriers to employment and education. So we believe that this model will get more individuals across the finish line than the traditional referral model. We'll be comparing the different models to gauge the successful impact on our participants. And lastly, I want to invite state board members to our website, employeenm.com. It's in your chat box, and if you click on it, you'll be able to get it up on your screen and maybe save it under favorites. At this website, you're going to be able to view the latest information on our activities, our e-newsletter, and our board member activities. That's about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Steve. So thank you. And so the last agenda item says board chair comments, but I don't want to be the only one that comments. I wanted to offer, is there anything the rest of the board would like to discuss before we adjourn our meeting? Okay, I don't hear anything. So that being said, then I will do my board chair comments. So I just really wanted to say to you guys, we're all, I think, ambassadors, correct? We each in our communities, in our spheres, we are ambassadors of the system. We're ambassadors of these resources. And as you know, as Carla brought out when, you know, she's asking the question, how are we making sure that Ready New Mexico is hitting the businesses? And what I do like about the site is that it says up front, you know, are you a job seeker or your business? But if you build it, they will not come. You've really got to be intentional about getting information in the hands of people. And all of you are very connected. All of you have networks. You're in different organizations, and so my ask of each of us as board members is to look for opportunities to plug that information in with the discussions that are going on in a way that makes sense. When employers are really struggling to identify employees, you know, have you reached out to the workforce system? Do you know about Ready New Mexico website? And, you know, and be able to point them to those resources right away. I do think it's going to be one of the things that has come out of the NGA grant is a pretty thorough evaluation of the Ready New Mexico effort. And it's, you know, we have to stop thinking of the workforce system as a service provider thing. It's not just one more service provider. It's got two customers. It's got a job seeker and it's got the business community. And when those things are linked, you know, hand in hand, then you've got what you were after, a really impactful workforce system that can drive economic development in the state. That's the purpose of WIOA. So a lot of the things we'll evaluate have to do with the other side, have to do with how many businesses use the system for the first time, what happened, how did it affect their cost of hiring? You know, ideally this affects reduction of turnover, shortens time to hire, shortens time for them maybe having to go through 1,000 resumes because they only were presented 10 qualified people. So this system is really, it's built for both. And how do we help both target audiences, so to speak, know how to use the system? And I think that the ready.nm.gov is a really good place to start. And it is a shorter process. So thank you for, you know, for just making sure that the people in your networks are aware of this. So unless there are any other comments, I believe that we can adjourn our meeting today. And I want to thank you all for your time and your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye, everybody.
John, do you want to stop the recording?